GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. The whys and wherefores of meridian time and why it exists is there to be discovered. But looking through the prism of wrist watches, the GMT watch holds a special place in many people's hearts. For a long time we've wanted to try our hand at designing a GMT, but the realities of our position in this industry mean that, unless we wanted to use a Swiss GMT movement, we're kind of stuck. No other movement manufacturer outside of Switzerland offers a GMT movement. But in late 2021, we were given advanced insight into a new movement developed by Miyota called the 9075, and what's more, it would be a true GMT. When we got wind that Miyota were developing this new True GMT movement, we got really excited. For the past few years we've been focusing our energies on this sub £1,000 market, and we think it's where our market is. We're really good at designing for that market, and we've become sort of known for offering incredible value for money yet high quality watches. As soon as we received the technical package from Miyota for the 9075, we set to work quite quickly. I sort of knew what I wanted to achieve, a slim, well-proportioned watch that stood out from the crowd of GMT watches available. Our design language has developed over the past 8 years. The GMT signals quite a dramatic step change in what we can achieve, especially in case design. The GMT case features a central frame that holds upper levels of bezel and box sapphire crystal, whilst underneath it tapers away quite quickly to the exhibition caseback, making the wrist presence bold yet visually slim. I knew that we needed to make this GMT as high spec as possible while sticking to the quite strict budgets that we'd set ourselves, and after the specific design phase and seeing what box section sapphire crystal can give to a dial, we knew that the GMT needed to follow suit. Underneath the bright box sapphire is a dial design that takes all our learning so far and peppers them all in there. A base dial with 2 textures that creates a lovely tension between the chalky outer and sandpaper inner, with tall polished applied indices, frames filled with luminous compound bridging the 2 textures. Given that the GMT has quite a bit more information going on, keeping things neat makes all the difference. The hands for the GMT are tapered and profiled, catching the light on either side of the central spine so that regardless of lighting conditions, the hands should still be legible. The GMT hand is integrated into the dial as well, with a colour matched stock. We've tried to balance the want for promoting this additional hand on the dial against the day-to-day necessity of reading the time quickly and effectively. Surrounding the bright dial and box sapphire is a bi-directional bezel, marked with an additional 24-hour scale. The caseback features a design that we've used for quite a few watches now. An outer ring chamfers inwards to terminate underneath the spinning rotor of the Miyota 9075. It's a visual trick that makes the movement appear like it's bursting out of the case and feels almost touchable. To understand what a true GMT is versus the other type, an office GMT, we have to first look at what a GMT actually does. What does it mean to us in the literal sense of watches, time telling and functions? A GMT complication is a simple way for the wearer to track 2 different time zones, a home time and a local time. It achieves this through the addition of a 4th GMT hand, which revolves around the dial once every 24 hours. The GMT hand points to a separate reference scale and can be set independently from the main hour hand. I mentioned that there are 2 types of GMT movements, the True GMT, like ours, and an office GMT. The differentiating factor between the True and the office GMT is the allocation of what hand, either the main hour hand or the GMT 4th hand, jumps in hourly increments and thus controls your home time, the time that you always want to see. The True GMT, like ours, allows the main hour hand to jump in hourly increments, meaning that you are able to quickly reset the main time-telling hands to whatever time zone you are in. The office GMT, in comparison, has a GMT hand that jumps in hourly increments, so the main time-telling hand remain as so, and it's this little 4th hand that jumps around for the local time. We prefer the True GMT movement because the natural method of telling the time is by using the main hour and minute hands, and with a True GMT movement, This is made really easy and convenient for anyone travelling into different time zones. It does take a moment to set up though, so let's get into it. There is a proper method to set up your GMT watch, allowing everything thereafter to align and remain in sync. To make things a little bit more interesting, alongside the 2 time zones on the dial, we've added in a 48-click bi-directional bezel that allows you to track a 3rd time zone. Don't panic, it'll all become clear in just a second. The first step is to set up your home time, the time that you are travelling from. Pull the crown out to its furthest away position and set the GMT hand to the current hour using the 24-hour scale on the outer dial ring. For example's sake, let's say it's currently 10 PM at home. Once the GMT hand is in position, set the minute hand as well. Once in position, this sets your home time. With your home time set, you can now set up your local hour and the date. The Miyota 9075 features a unique date complication that can be set both forwards and backwards. We must pay particular attention to when the date ticks over, as this signifies midnight and becomes important if you're setting the time in the afternoon. So with the crown pushed 1 step inwards, the main hour hand is made available to be jumped in hourly increments to the local time. By moving the hour hand around the dial, we can see that the date ticks over to the next day when it passes midnight. So if we're setting the local time in the afternoon, say 3 PM, we want to tick the date over to the current day and then continue around the dial once more to bring the movement past the midday mark. Then we can set the hour hand to 3 PM, and with that the watch is now set up and ready to use. Push the crown all the way into the case and voila, the GMT watch is set. If you then travel to another time zone, you can quickly move the main hour hand by pulling the crown gently out to the first position. This engages the jumping mechanism and you can jump in hourly increments to whatever time you like. This is the beauty of the True GMT. The main hands will always tell you the current time wherever you are and is incredibly convenient. Now, once you have your GMT watch set up, the 48-click bezel can come into effect. So you have your local time with the main hour and minute hands, and you have your home time set with the GMT hand. Ignoring the main hands and using only the home GMT hand and the 2 24-hour scales, we can rotate the bezel to allow us to track a 3rd time zone. Depending on whether the 3rd time zone is ahead of your home time or behind your home time, will depend on which part of the bezel we'll use to track this 3rd time zone. If you want to track the time in a place that is ahead of your current home time, say Tokyo for instance, we use the 12 o'clock position as our starting point. Tokyo is +9 hours in front of our London home time. Simply move the bezel so that the number 9 is directly above the 12 o'clock mark. Do this for whatever time you wish that is ahead of your home time. So for Sydney, which is 11 hours ahead of London, we'd move the bezel to 11, and so on. Once you've set the bezel to this figure at the 12 o'clock position, all you need to do is look at where the GMT hand currently points on the bezel, and there we can see that the local time in Tokyo is currently 7 AM. That's it. Until you move the bezel again, this will now track the time in Tokyo. If you want to track the time in a place that is behind your current home time, say New York for instance, then we use the pip as our starting point. New York is 5 hours behind our home time in London, and so we turn the bezel pip to the number 5 on the inner scale. If you wanted to track another time that's behind, just set the bezel pip to that number instead. Once you've set the bezel to the time difference in New York, using the GMT hand and the figure on the bezel, we can see that the current time in New York is 5 PM. It does feel complicated at first, but soon you'll get to grips with it. Anything ahead is 12, anything behind is pip. It's a really great way to track another time zone. So there we are, our first True GMT, available in 2 colourways, day and night, released in a small batch of 500 pieces per colour. The GMT marks a sea change in our attitude to watch design and how we go about creating unique, high quality, accessibly priced watches. If you happen to find yourself wearing a Marloe GMT, we really hope you like it. Both Oliver and I are really chuffed with how it's turned out, and we're looking forward to your feedback and seeing all your photos. So thanks for watching. If you've got any questions at all, just drop us a message via the website, and until the next one, take care of yourself and others.